This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of the leading candidates for the United States Senate in next year's election. As many of you who follow politics know, we in Alabama are losing an icon in the United States Senate. Our senior Senator Richard Shelby is not running for re-election in next year's primary in 2022. He's going to call it quits after 36 years, and folks, Alabama's going to miss him. We have some really well qualified and great candidates that are lining up to run, and one of the early ones is our guest tonight, Miss Lynda Blanchard, who is a born and raised native of Montgomery, Alabama. Those of you in the river region ought to be proud to have a Montgomeryan in the race for the U.S. Senate. She has gotten in there early. She's close to the Trump administration. She's a true blue Republican, and probably going to be the prettiest candidate running for the United States Senate. Lynda, good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's so appropriate that Lynda is here, and most of our viewers are in the river region of Montgomery and the Wiregrass, because she was born and raised right here in Montgomery, grew up in Montgomery, and her daddy, Dwight Cleveland, and was one of the founders of Troy University Television and Radio. And her mother and Dwight, she grew up in the church right around close to here in downtown Montgomery, and she's led a wonderful life, and now she's going to volunteer to run for the United States Senate. Lynda, tell us about growing up and your daddy helping start this television show and station we're on.
So I'll tell you, we were a family that helped Daddy all the time. Daddy was doing the first radio station and TV in Troy, and he needed his little helpers, and so my sisters and I went to work with him when he was building the towers, the first towers in Troy, and we would take turns climbing up the towers and handing him pieces. So I'm true and true Montgomery, but I think I'll claim Troy as well.
Good. Well, we claim you. Hey, Lynda, you go by Lindy when you were growing up, a sort of southern thing, and your sister was named Cindy.
Twin sister named Cindy.
Identical twins?
Yes. So
and y'all went all the way through school together?
We did. That was back in the day when there weren't many twins.
Lindy, let me ask you, you don't mind if I call you Lindy?
I love it.
Now, did y'all went through all the public schools here in Montgomery?
We did.
Where'd y'all go to school when you were growing up?
So Danley, Peter Crump, Cloverdale, and Jeff Davis. So I'm a graduate of Jeff Davis.
And you told me earlier that you left school and worked out at the Bonanza on Southern Bypass.
I did. So in 11th grade and 12th grade, I left school early, it's the DECA program, and went to work at Bonanza to be a waitress and got graded on doing that. I loved it.
Did Cindy do the same thing?
She did.
Where is she now?
Cindy lives right here in Montgomery as well, and then I have another younger sister that lives in Birmingham.
So you got the three girls?
3 girls.
Uh-huh. Now, talk about that. Lynda, you got a bunch of children of your own. You got children, but you adopted a lot of children.
I have. So we've adopted five girls.
Did you pick all girls just the way they did it for you?
It was God's plan. They just were presented to us. So we adopted 1 from China, and then 3 from Peru, and 1 from India.
What organization did y'all go through to?
I've worked with 3 different adoption agencies and adoption policies in the state of Alabama. So Children of the World, Lifeline, and Agape of Central Alabama. So all 3.
Now you also have 3 natural children of your own, or 2?
2, and when I married, I became an instant mom. So and Christopher's ours as well. So.
Now you and Ronnie Taylor were talking about some program that y'all been active in here in Montgomery,
Valiant Cross, and our son is one of the board members right now, but we were founding partners with about 3 or 4 other families that decided this was something that we really wanted to invest in.
Now what does Valiant Cross do exactly?
It's for the young black boys in Montgomery to learn from wonderful mentors and preachers and go to a charter school and learn to grow up to be that black male leader in the house and in the community. And I think it's a wonderful program. We've also worked with, in downtown Montgomery and the area, House to House, Common Ground. We're very conscious of trying to help people step up. We worked with the Dullum House. We've been doing that. That's the prison ministry where the children of Tutwiler's prisoners, they don't have to end up going into the foster care. They're moved right into a Dullum House, which is a better based and out of the foster care system, so that these ladies can rehab and get their children back quicker.
That's a wonderful program. Let me ask you this now. You have been really civically involved here in Montgomery and the River region. A lot of people don't realize this, but you were extremely active, and people don't realize this behind the scenes, and been involved with a very important F-35.
Yes.
Coming here to Montgomery. Now
Fighter wings.
You're good friends with Senator Shelby. He's related that to me. He's been a supporter of his over the years. And he mentioned about you running for this seat to me, but also he was vitally involved, but also you got the lady congressman from Texas.
Yes.
That was Shelby's counterpart in the House. Tell our
Yes.
viewers, if you will, I know you want to be humble about it, but you were involved with the F-35 and were a vital part of that,
Yes.
Locating it here to Montgomery and the River region. By the way, let me say this about this. You know this, having been born and raised here in Montgomery, how important the Maxwell Gunner situation is to this city, and also how important it is to the state defense appropriations dollars.
It is.
Matter of fact, I was sitting here 4 or 5 years ago and had Todd Strange, when he was mayor of Montgomery, sitting where you are on the show. And I said, Mayor, it was a downturn in the economy, and I had always assumed, not being from Montgomery, being from Troy, that the state workers were the biggest employer in Montgomery. I said, I guess y'all are sort of disappointed about state workers losing their jobs and everything. I said, that's y'all's biggest employer. I said, no, it's not our biggest employer, Steve. We're sorry they are. And I said, well, is Hyundai bigger than that? He said, no, it's Maxwell Gunner.
Exactly.
And having grown up here and gone to church here all your life and everything, the thing that you realize too, Lynda, is how important those military retirees are
It is
to this
critical.
area.
Critical to this area, and that's a focus of mine as well. The way I was able to partner with the F-35s
Let's get into that if you would, yeah.
Okay, so with my work, with my nonprofit work, I was able to meet a very proactive congressional member, and we were like-minded on orphan policies and orphan care abroad and in the States. And I knew that she would have a say in the F-35s because she had the same counterpartner position in the House that Senator Shelby had. And we became real good friends, and I insisted that she come to Alabama, knowing that she would have a vote, and she was my friend, and I would host her here so that she could see Maxwell and Danley and where the F-35s would be housed. And it turned out that it was perfect because Alabama actually got knocked off the list. Most Alabamians don't know that or aren't aware. I got a phone call the next day from one of the top officials in Alabama stating we had been knocked off the list. Because of my relationship, I made that connection, and the Congresswoman was able to make some phone calls and get Alabama right back on the list within a few hours.
Well, then that's really something. I'm glad our viewers know that. But even outside of Montgomery, you know, one of the things that Senator Shelby has done, he has not only chaired the Appropriations Committee, but he's also chairman of the Defense Subcommittee on Appropriations. I don't think there's a state in America that benefits more from defense federal dollars than Alabama. When you look at the Redstone, Arsenal, and Huntsville, Maxwell Gunner and Montgomery and Rucker and the Wiregrass, and even there's some military installations near Mobile, I would hope that if you're successful in succeeding Senator Shelby, that you would aspire and realize that was one of the most important missions you would have up there? Nobody can do. You have to be there a long time before you have the kind of power. But tell us about your thoughts on that. Is that sort of one of the plans you have?
It is, to focus on defense, certainly. I actually, as ambassador last year, came back to Alabama, had a meeting at Redstone to talk about purchasing hardware, so the military hardware, from Redstone for European countries that had raised their NATO 2% up, like President Trump had requested for all European ambassadors to focus on. And that way, in that 2% is hardware money. So I was able to come back. I wanted people in Europe to buy Alabama products, and so I went to Redstone and met last summer for us to make those partnerships and those connections.
So that's really one of the reasons why you're running for the Senate, because you saw a need to have somebody with your experience.
I saw the need and the expertise in America First initiatives abroad, very similar with America First in the U.S. Take, for example, 5G and broadband. Right now, Alabama has, issues with broadband width in the rural areas, and we worked with that as well in Slovenia. So there are a lot of correlations as ambassador working abroad for the America First initiative, and it's an easy slide in.
Well, talking about that, let's move into your job as ambassador to Slovenia. People don't realize that's a very, very prestigious thing. Tell our viewers how you got close to President Trump. Okay. You're probably the closest candidate in the race to President Trump, personally, and how you got involved. Did you from the beginning, like how you got involved in Republican politics, and how you got to know Trump, and how he would have so much respect for you to make you the ambassador to Slovenia? I mean, just give our viewers how someone gets to be an ambassador to Slovenia, which, by the way, was the former First Lady's country, home country.
It is. It definitely is. So not only did I get the pleasure to work and serve for President Trump abroad, I worked as well for the First Lady. And it is a very important area to work in.
In the campaign, or what?
No. So right when President Trump came down the escalators, we decided that he was the type president we wanted to focus on, a business president. We started our family business in Alabama, apartments and acquisitions and syndications, and our first property was in Mobile. So we were business-minded, started around our kitchen table, and the business was able to succeed just starting in Alabama as a small property and a small business owner. And President Trump was that businessman that we wanted to look to support. We became supporters, and 2 weeks after the election, that is when I got a phone call from D.C.
You were here in Montgomery?
Here in Montgomery. Never in a million years would have guessed that I would get a call from D.C. to ask me to apply for a position. And
you didn't know what it would be for, just with the administration?
Well, originally they asked me to apply for USAID administrator, so that's all the money that the United States sends abroad in foreign countries and help. And so they asked for me to apply for that because I was a mathematician. I'd worked in 16 countries on orphan care and policies, knew quite a bit about U.S. aid in other countries, and they felt like that we would work well together because of the focus was to reduce the budget. And that was my aim as well, because I'd seen the duplications from USAID and USAID abroad.
Well, and so you thought what's USDI stand for now?
USAID, so it's USAID, so it's foreign aid.
Okay.
All the money that we spend out of the United States. So it's quite a big budget, and I memorized it. And a former congressional member got that position. The White House liked my diversified resume, which went from a for-profit business to a nonprofit business to engaging on how to help in areas all around and learning just how we can help other people in stepping up all over the U.S. and especially in Alabama.
Now, they called you when you said they put a congressperson person that. They say you want to be the ambassador to Slovenia at that point?
They actually said, will you make some suggestions? And so...
had you met the First Lady by then?
I had met her at just a couple of events, you know, just as just another person in the crowd, so not as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So really what stood out to the First Lady and the White House was my diversification and my adoptions. They really liked the adoptions of the children, me working for the welfare and well-being of children abroad, and in Alabama as well.
And they gave you a call and said you want to be ambassador to Slovenia?
They did. I was actually shocked. I was in Atlanta getting my passport renewed, and they called me and said, where are you? And I said, I'm in Atlanta in the passport office. And the lady said, you know, we're getting a visual, but you might want to sit down. And so they asked me officially, in the official way, they had to read it officially, would I like to serve for the President of the United States of America.
And then how long did it take you before you were sworn in?
A long time, because the state of Alabama is red Republican, and at that point we had the Democrats were working against anything and everything President Trump was trying to accomplish. And one of those was to get political appointed ambassadors abroad. And the Democrats did not want that to happen. And it took a long time. It took a year to get me to post. And Menendez certainly did not like that I was going to cloture votes, so I already had the votes. And he wanted to slam me on the floor of the Senate, even though I had the votes. And I did get slammed by Menendez on the floor, but I'll take it. Menendez said, and this is in permanent record, he held his hand up like this, and he said, Mrs. Blanchard, I want this for the record, Mrs. Blanchard mixed politics with religion on the night of the election. Well, remember, on the night of the election, I never thought I'd be political because I didn't get the phone call till 2 weeks later. And so he said, and I quote Mrs. Blanchard, she said on her Facebook, may God our Father paint this country red with the blood of Jesus. That's the only thing they could find bad about me. And so Menendez quoted that I said that on my Facebook page. So that was it. But he was really trying real hard to keep me from going to the First Lady's country.
Well, tell me this, then how much longer before you went over to Slovenia?
Just a couple of months after that.
Uh-huh. Well, tell me what it was like tell me about your daily job as ambassador. It was 3 full years. You had a year to get...
Well, not quite 3 years, because it took that long. I was delayed, and they had someone else that was... Remember, so I'll take it a step back. I actually almost got the position of USAID administrator. So I'd gone through 3 interviews. So that was almost a year process, and then changed to this. So a year was gone out of that. So I only stayed in Slovenia a year and a half and just got returned home on January 18th. But
of this year?
Of this year. So, and I returned to...
at the end of Trump's administration?
At the end of the administration. But what was amazing in my time in Slovenia as the First Lady's representative in her country was being able to do the America First initiative abroad, and how empowering that makes you once you see progress and once you see the bilateral relationship and you see that you're making a difference in world policies like energy and, like I said before, 5G. And we did the second largest bank bilateral partnership with the U.S. and Slovenia while I was ambassador. And so now we have a U.S. bank in Slovenia that people can come in and partner with. And then I did other business adventures with Alabama and Slovenia.
Did you have a large staff?
Our embasy's about 100.
100 people?
Yes.
That are in the embassy over there in Slovenia.
It is. And because it was the First Lady's country and an election year and I was a political appointee, the Russians thought that they could find out maybe some information and listen in on everything that I did as ambassador. Also, the Iranians thought we would be a soft target as well. So the Russian ambassador moved across the street from me with KGB spies.
Are you serious?
Right across the street.
Y'all knew it, though.
Oh, yes. I mean, We did, and so my residence was on lockdown. So my security level was doubled after that. Then the Iranians were spotted scoping out our residence and the embassy as well. And so we were under high security risk levels. One night this past November, I actually was a real target. A red beam came from across the hillside about a quarter of a mile away.
This last November?
This past November. Came from across the hillside a quarter mile away, hit one of my guards outside my residence on the chest. The other guards and this guard watched the red beam go up and off his chest and into my residential area. So then it was an emergency situation. So they came storming at 9 o'clock at night into my residence. I heard them. I was in the bath. Immediately, number one rule as ambassador, you're supposed to have a robe handy at all points, and that's the good thing. So I immediately was putting on my robe, and they came into my personal area, protected me, and basically slammed me on the floor and got me down to a secure area. And I said, get my girls, get my children. And they said, Ambassador, we have to secure you first. So they took me to a secure area and then went back up and got my children. And that was a high incident. Thank goodness it turned out well. Nothing happened, but you're a target as an ambassador, and especially working in the First Lady's country and under a very wonderful, proactive president that we had in President Trump.
Well, you know, that's a great resume to run for the United States Senate, with you having experience in defense-related businesses in Huntsville, here in Montgomery, and being an ambassador to Slovenia. That's quite an asset. Now, if you get to Washington, you know, what committees do you think would be appropriate, or would you aspire to be on? Hopefully, well, not shouldn't say that, but I mean, whether the Republicans take the majority back or not in the midterm elections next year, where you'll be running, what committee do you want to serve on? Would you ask for the leadership for?
Certainly,
McConnell will still be there, won't he?
It looks like it. Certainly, Senator Shelby has chosen, you know, wonderful committees, and I'm a believer in defense and appropriations and having the say. He's done quite a bit in that area, and I think that would be an easy fit for me since I've already worked with Redstone, the Huntsville area. And then also I'd like to focus on the other 98% of small businesses in Alabama and the farmer. I mean, the farmer is the backbone in society. When we were locked down in Slovenia, we locked down as a country, so our borders were locked. Alabama's borders were open, you know, at least for trucking. When they locked down, they realized they didn't have enough food sourcing to supply the country. So food and farming is the backbone in all areas, and so it was a prime example to me to see how important the farmers are, and we were able to open the borders up, get the food in. But in Alabama we have such wonderful farming and we get to export so much. It's just a blessing, and I'd like to be that senatorial partner that focuses on that as well.
I am so glad to hear you say that. I have said for years that we're a great country, but the two best things that we do is have a strong defense, military, and have good farming.
Yes, I
and
agree.
if you can feed yourself, you know, and farming is still the most important thing for Alabama. I'm so glad to hear you say that, that you're interested in helping and maybe being on agriculture. You know, we haven't had a member of the Agriculture Committee.
Well, I'm a graduate of Auburn University, and, you know, that's a land-grant university, so it's a good fit.
Well, excuse me, you ought to get out there and work those farmers for that endorsement.
I certainly will.
Forgive me, Lynda, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But that farming thing is just so important to Alabama, and I don't think the average person realizes that. Now, one thing that Shelby did for years and years is he would come back home and visit every county. You know, do you see yourself doing that?
I have already enjoyed getting out and meeting people. Just yesterday I was in Gunnersville with a new friend, Randy. Last night I was in Fairhope with some new friends, Jerry Ann and Mary Ann, and I love it. So I will definitely be that senator that loves coming back, re-engaging, because those are my employers. I'm the employee. I'm working for them. So I need to engage and find out what they need, what they want me to do as their senator, and how I can help in any way.
So you really are enjoying campaigning, aren't you?
I love it. I love it.
You know, the early bird gets the worm. Getting in there early like you did, that's a good thing. You jump in there early. I like that. How many counties have you been to so far already, you know?
Whew, I have crossed up and down Alabama already so many times. I'm not sure how many counties, but I would say my mission is to get all 67. I know I haven't done the 67 total, so I plan on doing that.
Well, you're going to that Baldwin County Fairhope area is really important. I don't know if you realize, I probably do run in, but that's probably one of the 5 largest counties in the Republican primary.
It is. It is.
So I spend time
port,
in that Fairhope area.
That port's important.
It really
and what
is.
Senator Shelby did for the port.
I'm glad to see you know that too. You know, let me ask you this one final question. Are you like enjoying the one-on-one campaign or the talk shows more? You were on a talk radio show this morning, wasn't you?
I was for an hour and a half. So I actually was a little bit tentative about this, but I've enjoyed it because you get to tell your story and meet people like you for the first time, and the fact that I think you knew my dad and is amazing, and it just shows how small the world is, and we're all working together for the same thing. Well,
I know you'll be a very pro-business senator and a very conservative one. There's no question about that, given your background and experience. Lynda, I hate to say it, our time's up.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
We'll have you back on again as the campaign progresses, and we thank you for taking time out of your schedule. Folks, our guest tonight has been United States Senate candidate Lynda Blanchard from here in Montgomery in the River region, born and raised here, and one of the leading candidates for the United States Senate in next year's 2022 election. And we thank you viewers for watching. Hope you tune again next week for Alabama Politics. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lynda.
Thank you.
Goes by in a hurry.